Welcome back to another video. Hope you're all doing great. As we can see, I just bought another small crap box that was destined to go to the scrapyard. So let's see what we're up against. A friend of mine reached out to me and asked if I wanted to buy this car. Only problem is, it doesn't have any functioning brakes. However, the engine and transmission seems to be good and it came with practically new summer tires, so I decided to go for it. So I'm definitely not gonna try to make this car perfect by any means. In fact, it's gonna be a little bit of the opposite project with this one. I'm just gonna try to make it road-worthy and road legal with the least amount of budget and time and effort that I can. I'm still gonna make it somewhat nice, maybe clean it up inside and out. But this is actually going to a friend of mine who is in a desperate need of a car right now. Something happened to him, and yeah, as I said, he needs a car ASAP to be able to get to and back from work. So I'm gonna be trying to fixing it up as soon as possible here in this video. So a start to finish type of video, and hopefully we will have a road-worthy car that can take my friend from point A to B. The guy who sold it was actually a colleague of a friend of mine who just had gotten a new car through work. He got a work vehicle, so he really wanted to get rid of this as soon as possible. It was just taking up space and costing parking money. So yeah, he just replaced the head gasket, and now he had catastrophic brake failure. So I guess he was pretty sick and tired of this car. So he offered me to buy it for 2,000 Swedish crowns. And I know that the Volvo is a paused project right now. I will get back to that as soon as I can, but I just couldn't resist on buying this one for 2,000 crowns. So here we are. So the brake pedal just sinks to the floor, and the brakes only barely works when the pedal is all the way down. And just as I suspected, the brake reservoir is pretty much empty, which means we probably have a leak somewhere. So let's fill it up with brake fluid, pump the brakes, and see where it leaks out. And sure enough, brake fluid starts dripping out from the left rear brake drum. So let's remove the wheel and brake drum and see what the problem might be. Also, we can see right here that the rear shocks is leaking a little bit of oil. There's our problem. The piston of the brake cylinder had popped out. Let's go ahead and remove the brake shoes and clean everything up, because right now it's a complete mess. Okay, what's actually seemed to have happened here is quite interesting. As we can see, the wheel brake cylinder isn't sitting straight. It's sort of like an angle like this, and I don't think it's supposed to be like that. And as we saw, the cylinder here on the brake cylinder on this side was shooting out too far away here, and the brake shoe was sitting inside of it, so it popped out, and that's why it was leaking. And as we can see right here on the flange, you can see a big gap in here, and I could scrape away a lot of aluminum oxide and just corrosion in here, because this casing of the wheel cylinder is made out of aluminium, and it sits on a steel surface, obviously, and you get galvanic corrosion when you do that. That's why it's so important to apply a layer of anti-seize whenever you change something like this, whenever you have aluminum against steel. So yeah, it seems as that's what happened. You can see a big gap right there. And I think that this wheel cylinder is only held on with one screw, so that makes sense that it could expand that much right here. So yeah, I think this failure is simply due to corrosion. So I went ahead and ordered a complete brake kit in the rear to fix that. Hopefully I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, because probably it's just a matter of time before that happens there as well. And also I noticed that the rear shocks were leaking on both sides. Nothing I plan to do, but I just can't help myself if I'm going to order a set of new brake shoes. So let's go ahead and remove this inner wheel arch and remove the rear shocks while we wait for the new parts to arrive. Here we can see one of the worst rust traps I've ever seen, just a bowl where a ton of dirt and salt is trapped and can't escape. Still some healthy metal underneath all of that rust, so why not go ahead and clean it out real quick. To my surprise, the shock still had a fair amount of resistance to it. As we can see, the shock is completely seized to the bolt and the bolt is completely seized to the hole in the trailing arm, so let's leave it for now and continue on with removing the brake cylinder. The brake fitting to the cylinder came loose, however the brake fitting to the brake line was stuck, but I have a plan for that. So let's heat the brake fitting with the induction heater so it expands around the pipe and comes loose. And that worked like a charm. So the new parts arrived for the rear brakes, and as we can see, I just went ahead and bought the full complete kit for the rear brakes. Feels really nice doing this, and I love that Fabi Bilstein offered this solution as a complete kit. So the brake shoes comes pre-installed with all of the springs and everything. That's really nice. Comes with new cups, new nuts, and all of the mounting accessories. And then I went ahead and bought 2 complete new drums with the wheel bearings already pressed in. I think it's super nice that they offered this solution, because I was gonna go ahead and pretty much order all of this anyways, and I think this was a pretty fair price as well. I paid this much, I'm gonna write it at the bottom of the screen right now, which I think is pretty good. They usually hold a pretty good quality as well. Not a sponsor by any mean, but I just figured I'll let you know which route I went. So let's go ahead and mount all of this to the car and see if we've fixed the braking issue. But first, I just couldn't resist giving them a quick coat of paint, as they are just bare metal right now. As we can see, the cylinder was still sitting a bit angled, and I figured the easiest and also the best way to fix that is to drill another screw hole so we can utilize both of the threaded holes on the cylinder. That way it will get clamped down more evenly. There we go, much better. I'll tighten it the rest later when the car sits on the ground. Alright, let's go ahead and fill the brake reservoir up with some brake fluid and see if we can bleed it and check for leaks. And the reason why I didn't do that before putting on the brake drum is, well, the brake cylinder needs something to push out against, otherwise I'm just gonna pop the seals again. So you need to do it this way. But yeah, let's fill her up with some brake fluid and see how it goes. And that pretty much wraps up the brake job on the left rear, at least for now. And as you can see, there's still the old shock right there. And I just decided to not replace it because this bolt is completely seized in there. So I'm not gonna cut it off and drill it out from the entire rear subframe. That's just not gonna happen with this one. There's still some resistance up and down in the shock, more than I had imagined first, honestly. So I'm actually gonna put this nut back on, put this bolt back up on, and this is what it's gonna have to be. I mean, it didn't fail the inspection on the shocks, so it's gonna be road legal at least. And the person this car is going to needs it as soon as possible, as I said in the beginning of the video. So it sucks, feels really bad. I hate this feeling. It feels like I'm giving up on it, but it's just a rational thing to do right now. I mean, the car is pretty rusty, so it probably only has couple of more years to go, but all in all, couple of €100 rear brakes to keep it on the road for a few more years. That's definitely worth it in my book. Then the next owner can decide for themselves if they want to do some rust repairs and things like this. But for now, this is going to keep the car on the road for hopefully a couple of more years. So I'm gonna button the shock back up on, put the bolt up in there, so then we can move on to the next side and then just copy paste everything. I'm not gonna put the winter wheels back on, obviously, so let's give the summer wheels that were included with the car a quick clean. And speaking of the summer wheels, the tires were in excellent condition. That alone is worth probably around €200, so I think I made a good deal on this one. So good thing I bought a full brake kit on both sides and not just fixing the left side, because it's about to happen here as well. You can see that it's completely crooked and it's about to pop out here as well. It's only a matter of time. So good thing we bought the full kit. Before swapping out the wheels in the front, let's go over the front brakes as well. At least we need to bleed them as well anyways. And good thing I decided to check them over, because the bottom slider pins on both sides were stuck. Luckily enough, I managed to free them up. I'll definitely make sure to lube them up real good before putting them back in. It doesn't really matter when the wheel is on, but the brake disc were missing its mounting screws, and that's a bit annoying. Good thing I'm a bit of a hoarder because I had the correct brake disc screws laying around from another old project. By the way guys, I'm really close on hitting a dream milestone of mine of hitting 100,000 subscribers, so if you haven't subscribed already, it would mean the world to me if you did. Maybe this video will make the channel break the 100,000 mark. And that's the braking system done. But before we put the car back on the ground and before we go ahead and clean it inside and out, I just quickly want to flush out the cooling system and give the car an oil change and change out the engine oil filter, because as far as I know, it hasn't been changed since they did the head gasket, so it's running that very same oil, and that is no good, because inevitably dirt and debris is going to fall down into the engine, into the cooling passages and the oil passages when you're doing a head gasket job. So it's highly recommended that you flush out both of those systems pretty quickly after you've done a head gasket job. So let's go ahead and do that now. Here we can also see how dirty the coolant tank is. You could barely even see the level in there. With both the coolant flush and oil change being done, let's just quickly go ahead and touch up the engine bay to make it look a little bit more presentable. And with that finished, we can lower the car onto the ground for the last time, take it out for a spin to test the brakes, and then we can proceed with cleaning the exterior and interior. The brakes felt great, and it was so nice to finally have the brake pedal back to normal. I'm doing a chemical decontamination with a good quality degreaser and iron remover, and then I'm following that up with a contact wash. This is not the time to be afraid to give it an extra good scrub, especially since there is a lot of stubborn algae growing on the paintwork. I have a habit of using a separate wash mitt or towel when washing the lowermost sections of the car, and here we can see the reason why. Exterior clean, let's move on to the interior. Now, I actually got 1 weekend extra to work on the car, so I made the call to try to fix up the rear trunk, or at least to make it look a little bit more presentable than its current state. Now, the emblems had locating pins, but just to be sure, it's never a bad idea to take measurements of how the emblems should be placed. I'm not going to polish the entire car, but I did decide to polish the rear lights because that will really add to the contrast of the car, and when you're working with a silver car, that's really where you should direct your attention in order to make the car pop and stand out. There were a lot of discoloration from the rusty water runs right here, but I should be able to fix that with some polishing. I was far from happy with the results, and that's mainly due to the fact that I didn't buy enough paint and the lack of skills, of course. However, I definitely think this was an overall improvement from how it looked before. I'm restoring any faded plastic with my go-to method, a wet magic eraser sponge, and then I apply some plastic protectant, of course. The front headlights looked pretty sorry for themselves, so I went at it real quick with some sanding, polishing, and then ceramic protectant. And with that, the car is finished. A nice little mini rejuvenation, and the feeling of saving a car that was actually heading to the scrapyard is unbeatable. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.